Right. Yes, thank you very much for asking me to come and talk about the Poole Passion. I thought, first of all, it's interesting, as we've been hearing lots of stories already this morning, to find out how a passion play starts in an area. And I have to say that the Poole Passion happened completely by chance. And it wasn't in my mind to put on a passion play. It happened. And how it happened was actually where I got the inspiration was by going to see an exhibition up in London by an installation artist called Bill Viola. Now, hopefully, that was just a quote about the whole project. This was said by one of our actors and also the assistant director, just to say a little bit about the overarching part of Poole Passion. He said, "It's a truly remarkable achievement and a triumph for all concerned. It was a brilliant example of what can be done by a community of people working together for and with each other, and it was a privilege to be a participant." So, as I said, it was by chance, really, that a passion play began in Poole. We haven't got a tradition of a play happening there at all. But I went to London and hopefully, well, that's just a little bit more general about the Poole Passion, what we are. It's coming up now, I hope. Yeah, the inspiration, Bill Viola. Actually, I'm going back a bit. Passion and loss. So I went up and I saw this exhibition up in London by Bill Viola called Passion. And I thought, actually, this is an artist's or a actor's sculptor, because all the images were made with actors and then slowed down. So each image lasts about 10 minutes, very, very, very slow motion. And I was very inspired by looking at these images. And I thought I had another one. And I thought, actually, we could make some tableau back in Poole. That's what we'll do. And this particularly rang a chord for me, and I think it's important in a way, because most things that we do have some sort of personal link. I just lost my father when I went up to London, and when I saw these pictures, they really spoke to me. So I went back to Parkston, so St. Peter's, and I said to the rector there, I would like to make a set of images of tableau of the 12 stations just before Easter. And before I could sort of get to the end of the sentence, he said, "Fantastic, we've been waiting for somebody to come and make a passion play." And for years, we thought, wouldn't it be great if we had a passion play? You've got to talk to Jonathan. And so before I knew it, my idea of a few actors standing around St. Peter's Church moving very slowly, but instead of being filmed, they would be the real thing. Before I knew it, I was writing a passion play, and it wasn't just at St. Peter's, it needed to be at Parkston United Reformed Church as well. And really that's what happened. So I started to write a play. They sent out letters to, like I think you were saying, the interfaith. We had a meeting, and to my surprise, about 30 people turned up, and we started to create our play. It was completely intergenerational group, interfaith, and just a little bit about this little idea becoming a big idea. It sort of started to take a bit of a momentum before, without me realizing it. The rehearsals got bigger and bigger. I hadn't got a script written when we started at all. I just brought people along, and I started to work on images and tableau. This is why I used that image of Bill Viola, because most of the drama work that I use with people in lots of different settings, usually working with marginalised group, I use a lot of still imagery. And from that often gives ideas and gives a form to drama. So we did an awful lot of still pictures, and people came along each week, getting bigger. There was quite a lot of chat about, well, when are we going to get on with the real play? Where's the script? Where's the auditions? Where is it? But I don't tend to work like that. I'm a little bit more organic about the way I work. I could understand for people who weren't used to working in that particular way, it was probably a bit disconcerting. And they still kept saying, well, where's the script? So bit by bit I started to write a script, and I was able to write according to who I had as well, because I could look at who I was given. And I had, as I said, a very intergenerational cast, the oldest being 90 and the youngest being 4. And I started to put a script together. And it was okay, I thought, looking at it, but there was something lacking. And I thought, well, it's just a bit mainstream, really. We're acting out the story, which is good, but it's not really challenging the audience. And then it occurred to me that what we needed was someone to ask questions through the play. And I thought about a child, that a child could be there from the present day and could move through the whole play. And that's exactly what happened. I wrote in the character of the boy. He hasn't got a name, he's just called the boy. He's 11 years old, the same time that Jesus met in the temple, and he is in modern day clothes. And as the play goes through, he asks why. Why are people doing this? What's going on? And there's not always answers. But he's there questioning. He's asking those questions that all of us at some point, or continually, answer. What's happening? What's going on? So this is some more rehearsals. It's a very inclusive group. Part of the reason that I was able to do the Passion Play was to make it work with my work to a certain extent. Otherwise, I just wouldn't have time to fit everything in. And this is from our last play. This was in 2012. And as you can see, we've got a woman, Jesus. On that picture, there's 2 people in recovery from drug and alcohol addiction. A bit further on, there was a priest at the table. There was just about everybody at that table. And that's really how we work, that different people come to the group and join in and take part. That's part of the intergenerational is a very big and key aspect for us. And what we found, and it was interesting listening to what some people were saying before break, was that when the play was over, we couldn't actually stop the project, because we found that for some people it was their only outing in the week. A lot of people are very lonely in our communities. They don't get out, they don't see young people, or they're put in little boxes where, elderly people work, youth work, meet together. But actually bringing people together was very, very important. And actually going back to the picture before, this one, there was one of the young men there in the group. He'd had the most unbelievable background. He'd been a drug dealer, basically, and here he was in a Passion Play, and he befriended one of the oldest members of the group. And when everybody was busy doing everything and rushing around, it was him that was making that gentleman a cup of tea. It was him that was making sure he was sitting down, and he had a complete purpose for the first time in his life. And it was very powerful to see, because there's a lot of people that didn't have backgrounds like that who just moved away, but it was always him helping him. So we couldn't really stop, basically. And so these tableaus have become something else, definitely, because now I'm thinking, well, I've started something, and I'm going to have to keep going, really. And that is I think if you're starting something like this, it's something to take on board, really. Probably if I'd thought about it before, maybe I wouldn't have taken it on board, although I probably would, actually. But it's a responsibility. When you're working with groups that are disaffected, when you're working with elderly people, you can't just sort of come in with the circus and then it's all over. Because, you know, what are they going to do? So we have kept our regular core group. We've got a core group of about 30 to 40 that meets all through the year. And then we've got lots of different strands of our project. And basically, this project has grown step by step. And as we've found that it's become a tradition, basically, it became a tradition very, very quickly. We found that we needed to pace ourselves. So that is something I would say, again, to somebody that's starting out now. You have to look after yourselves, because we were absolutely wrecked the first couple of times that we did it. And we realised that we had to actually slow down if it was going to survive. Otherwise, it would be one of these lovely things that happened for a few years and then it went. And so we've sort of slowed ourselves down and tried to put in a bit more structure, because it happened back to front, if you like. It wasn't set out, this is a project we're going to do, we're going to set up a passion play and it's going to run every year. It just happened by chance. So we've sort of done things a little bit back to front. The very first year, actually, that we did it, we just ran it for 2 nights. And as you'll see in the film, there's a procession, because we start at Parkstone United Reformed Church and we process up to St. Peter's Church. In the yard, there's drama, there's Sonny Lumiere, and then we go into St. Peter's Church and it becomes candlelight. And we found that that audience that you were talking about, the group of people that come to church at Christmas, because on our route there's about 4 pubs. So they were sitting there having their drinks, and then we walked by with a cross and everything, and everyone dressed up, and I was thinking, I wonder how that's going to go. But actually, we found that people took their drinks and followed, and we had that, there was that definite midnight mass feel about it. By the end, we'd sort of doubled our audience, and they'd come into St. Peter's Church. And the second night, I sat down by one of the people who'd come in from one of the pubs and said, what made you come? And she said, we always come. We always come. And we'd only done it 2 nights. But it felt like this was somebody, and I was almost beginning to think that maybe I was coming to something I didn't know about as well. And from that first performance, that was 2 nights, and because there was such a swell from the audience as well as from the participants, we did it the second year for 3 nights, and then the following year we did it for 4 nights. This year we will do 5 performances, so we keep growing it with a performance each time. But what we did discover was we needed to do it every 2 years, not every year. And that year, that sort of lighter year, really helps us gather ourselves together so that we're ready. And keeping it fresh, well, we've decided that every time that we've done it, so we've got our 4th production this year, we have a different Jesus. And this makes us, whether we want to or not, we have to do masses of changes because we use a lot of live film. Part of that, as again was saying, part of that inspiration was that I like using multimedia, and we have inside St. Parkstone United Reform a huge wall about as big as this, where we project live footage. So it's happening and being made at that time. And then when we go to St. Peter's Church, then there's Sonny Lumiere outside, and then inside there's also images and a morphing of Jesus's face backwards and forwards into the shroud and back. So we have to remake all our film. So even though it's a bit of a job, it just forces us to think differently and to do things differently. So that was our first Jesus. That's my little girl. And that was that's our second Jesus. We've missed it. Oh, that was our second Jesus. And then we had Trisha last time. And we didn't do it for any kind of reasons of, you know, let's be different. It was what felt right. She was a very strong actress, and it just felt, one day she just read the part in, and it just felt right. So it's been like that every time we've done the play. In fact, the first year, even though there were quite a few young men who could have been Jesus, I just knew we hadn't got the right one until, you know, people kept saying, you've got to make a decision. It's getting very close to the play. And I said, well, he just hasn't come yet. And then Jack walked through the door, and that was it. So, are we going the right way? Yeah, and this is about the process. For this work, the process of actually creating a community is as important as actually getting the play together. Because if people aren't a community, if they don't feel part of something, it won't work. And masses of work goes on people working together and feeling part of something. And in a way, I think that in quite a sort of broken up environment, we've actually created a community. And that's the boy with the women, as you can see. As the project's progressed, and we've got a little bit more ambitious, last time we, in the 2012 production, we had crosses that people had made, but to be honest, aesthetically they were not fantastic. So we thought we're going to get some really good crosses made. And because of my connection with action and addiction, we commissioned them to make 3 crosses. So as part of their work in recovery in the carpentry department, they made the crosses. And we also thought that that would sort of tie in slightly with the old medieval plays. And then we had a costume maker who came and joined us from the university. The crowd is very, very important. And we work a lot on the fact that they're just as important as anybody else in the actual play. Some of the rehearsals at Perk and the actual performances. Just some of the feedback we had. Really high quality, best sort of community theatre with some fine performances. Very clever. Oh, I didn't realise that was in there. Some quite stunning lighting projections. Anyway, I do think it's important if you're putting on a play that your key characters, they've got to be able to hold the characterisation and be strong, and that lifts the rest of the cast. So it's really important to have a few really strong actors, and we're very lucky because we've always had a mix of amateur and professional. And the cast have written in their evaluation afterwards that they like the fact they're working with professional actors. It helps them and lifts their performance. And this is now in the second church, this is up at St. Peter's. The whole church gets turned around so that when you walk into the church, the crosses are straight in front of you. And it's a very long aisle, so it sort of makes the whole space a bit like a traverse theatre space. Some other pictures. The procession we found has been very, very important, as I think it sounds like from the other plays that you've been talking about, because suddenly you're involving the community. You're right bang in the community. You're not just shut away in the church where people have got tickets and they're going in. It's something else is happening. And the audience become actors for that moment because they're walking up with you. And again, we found that for some people it is some sort of pilgrimage almost, and people come every single night because they want to do that procession. So we've got quite a few people that come every single night to the play because they want to go on that journey. And this was an interesting, we had quite a few comments like this. I'm not a religious person, but I feel like I've had a spiritual experience. I think the visuals of the Passion Play did communicate spiritually on a deeper level than just one creed or belief. It made us think about the preciousness of life and the importance of communion. And I think one thing that the Passion Play has to offer to an audience today is something that's not talked about, and that's death. Somehow our society just doesn't want to talk about it. People don't grieve, they don't know how to grieve. And I think we hit a really universal part of the play when they go into St. people openly cry because it's an expression of grief and loss, and but within a safe environment, and we're there together. People are together experiencing this moment of grief, and I think that's been one of the strongest elements of the play for me, has been this need that people want to express what it feels like to lose someone, and then obviously the hope at the end.